Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we will go through a step-by-step guide on how to choose a laptop for academic purposes. It will be some sort of a step-by-step approach on how to pick your most cost-effective laptop for your research and your writing purposes. Well, what are the components of a laptop? There are major components of the laptop that should be examined before buying any laptop, either new or a used one. These components are software, operating system, the screen, processor, RAM, the hard drive, the keyboard, and other. Well, they are organized in a descending order from the most important to the least important. However, this can differ from one by one, so we will see what can you get from this video. Okay, the first and the most important thing in buying a computer or a PC or a laptop is software and operating system. The major two options are Windows versus Macintosh. There are other options like Linux, Ubuntu, which is a distribution of Linux, and etc. However, you should, in most cases, if you are your sole reason is academic writing and utilizing software, you should use either Windows versus Macintosh. So how to choose between Windows or Macintosh? This relies on the applications you need. You should ask your friends if there is any applications that doesn't work on one of both and you need it. For example, if you are using some CT, which is computed tomography medical imaging software, some softwares do not work on Windows but work on Mac and vice versa. So you should ask a colleague about which is which and which is important to take. If the software you need like Office or Office and simple video editing or so, then you will move to the next issue, which is the price. The price is higher for a Macintosh for sure. However, it doesn't get depreciated as fast as Windows computers. However, the cost effectiveness is questionable, especially if you don't use it for specific indication as mentioned previously. The Mac doesn't go without drawbacks. Yes, you get better security, better ethics, better software optimization. However, it is very costly to maintain a Macintosh. It is costly to replace it. It is hard for most technicians to repair it. So keep in mind these issues before buying a computer. The second option, the second most important component, as I think, is the screen. You should consider buying a 14-inch versus a 15.6-inch in most computers. If you are going for Windows, you should know that a 14-inch is a better option if you consider mobility and walking around with the computer is your daily practice. 15.6-inch has a better viewing area, better display of for videos and lectures, better in Zoom. However, this is not mandatory and goes with personal preferences. Another important feature is, should I buy a TN, a TFT, or an IPS screen? Definitely you should go for a TFT versus or an IPS screen. A TN screen would be good, but it will not be great. So if you have two identical laptops and one with an IPS and the other is with TN, should go for the IPS. It has better color reproduction, better viewing angles. The second important thing is the resolution. Always buy a full HD resolution screen. Don't buy an HD resolution screen. Yeah, you will not get a very good difference between a full HD screen and a 4K screen, but you will definitely feel it better if you get a full HD screen compared with a HD screen. The third most important processor item is the processor. The processor is important, however, the differences are not that major if you are using it mainly for browsing and academic research. You have two options in the market, either an Intel or an AMD. Both offer very good processing power. However, there are many important things to remember. Windows 11, which is recently offered for computers, supports the 8th generation of Intel processors and does not support older versions. So the 7th generation, the 6th generation is not supported by any means. And the Ryzen processors, the 3rd generation, is the first to be supported by Windows 11 compared to previous generation. So don't buy a computer with an older generation if you plan to use Windows 11. So at least the 8th generation from Intel and the 3rd generation from AMD and the Ryzen. Don't buy anything below Ryzen 3. So don't buy Athlon, don't buy the A series, which is a very old one, and don't buy Celeron or Pentium, not because they are poor processors. They offer a they offer lower performance, however with a very good close price to an i3 processor, which is the least to offer a good performance. Another important issue is you have to know that an i3 10th generation will give you a performance better than an i5 6th generation, and it might be cheaper, given that you can buy an i3 10th generation for in a new device for a lesser price than an i5 let us say 7th generation in an older device. So don't buy an older generation if you can, and if you are absolutely on a very low budget, don't buy a generation older than the 6th generation from Intel, and don't buy anything older than the Ryzen 2 or the Ryzen 1 from AMD. you can actually find pretty cheap computers on the used market for a very low price. So to summarize, you should buy an Intel or an AMD. i3 or Ryzen 3 is your lowest configuration, and the 8th generation from Intel and the 3rd generation from Ryzen as your oldest generation. Buying anything older than this would be a waste of money. Don't buy a computer with a RAM which is less than 8 gigabytes. You can buy a 4 gigabyte RAM computer. However, make sure that you can increase this RAM to 8 or more. It is recommended actually by Windows. Most new Macintoshes comes with at least 8 giga RAMs. Actually, there are no Macintosh with less than 8 giga RAM in the brand new market. However, if you are going to buy a computer with a very low price with 4 giga RAMs, just make sure that you can upgrade personally this to 8 gigabytes or to 8 gigabyte RAM or more. The hard drive, you should always put an SSD in the computer. It is better to have an NVMe 2 slot. However, it will not differ much with an ordinary 2.5 SSD. Don't buy an HDD drive unless you plan to exchange it, and make sure that you can exchange it for an SSD, or your computer is having another slot for an NVMe 2, and you can put an NVMe 2 and put your system on it. Another important issue is the weight. If portability is important, and I think it will be important if you are using it for academic reasons, you should choose a lighter laptop as possible. Most new computers are of considerable weight, and there is no that severe differences as we can compare to 5 or 10 years ago. A smaller screen will definitely be accompanied with a lighter screen. However, the least acceptable is 13 or 12.5 inches. You will find always that a 14-inch, as I think and most people think, that a 14-inch will be ideal and will have the good of both worlds of portability and weight. Another thing to consider is the keyboard. Is it backlit or not? If you choose it, if you work in dark areas or outdoors or so ever, you will benefit from a backlit keyboard. Usually upgrading from a non-backlit keyboard to a backlit keyboard is costly, so consider buying a backlit one if you use the computer on outdoors or overnight on a regular basis. However, it is not that important if you memorize the places of the keyboards. The weight and build quality is usually my advice is don't buy a very cheap computer, and don't buy a super thin and super slim computer. If you don't want it, go with the mid-range. Keep in mind that you will probably need to change the computer after 5 to 6 years, so don't waste your money. And also, you don't buy a computer that will crack on minor impacts and have very low build quality. So don't buy very cheap computers and don't buy very costly computers. Another important question is the video card or the graphic card. For most academic reasons, the integrated graphic card will be sufficient. Make sure that the applications you are using does not need a dedicated card, but you don't need a video card. Don't buy a gaming laptop for academic reasons. Why? In the beginning, it has more powerful processor, so this will need more battery and will need more cooling, and it will need more weight, and it will have poor portability, less battery life, etc., etc. So don't buy a computer for gaming. Buy a business class computer with an i5. This will be sufficient for most of your needs. In the end, I would recommend actually you to buy used computer rather than new computers in order to reduce our electronic waste. Most used computers, don't buy a very old one. Try to get an i5 8th generation computer on the used market, or a Ryzen 5 third generation computer from the market. It will actually go well and work very fine compared with newer generations, and try to keep our planet a better place. Thank you. I would like to hear from you in the comment section. Please subscribe and share this video.